Um, I have gained some objectivity since I have started doing this process. And I've realized something very interesting. Since birth, not just me, but all of humanity collectively, we are being fed lies. We are being fed lies since we were little children. Fantasies, lies, fairy tales, euphemisms, anything but reality, really. And I remembered specifically that when I was little, I asked my mother where I came from. Where do we come from? Specifically about the point of being born. I was first told that I came from my mother's belly button, which is an old archaic way of explaining the birds and the bees to very little children. And that's again one point, the birds and the bees. You cannot tell a child what sex is about. You cannot show reality to a child. That's totally fucked up, because of course we grew up in our own imaginary worlds and we didn't find out what reality is really like until we met some peers who told us what it's like if they found out from their parents before we did. And essentially, humanity is mutually, collectively growing up, and grows up with a delusion. And then when we hit puberty, we hit the harsh realities of this world, maybe start looking for information ourselves, because that's the catch. We trust our parents unconditionally when we are born. We trust them with our survival, and we get data, we get information that is not real, so it doesn't really resonate, so we start believing shit instead of knowing shit, like believing in the Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or whatever, God, instead of knowing what's actually here, knowing what is real, what is physical. So we grow up in our separate delusions, and we are so self-involved with sorting those delusions out, kind of leveling them with reality, trying to figure out what is real and what is not. We are so self-involved with that we are completely blind to the rest of the actual reality, the actual world, the actual suffering that is going on. And really, where are we going as a species if we are teaching, we're the only species that teach our young, our children, fairy tales, and completely ruin our self-trust with those fairy tales, because as children we actually know that there's something wrong, because we can't really see what we are being told. We don't really have any physical evidence of all of those fairy tales being true, like God and Santa Claus and whatever. And in that we kind of abdicate our trust. We trust our parents that they are telling the truth, and in that we abdicate our self-trust. We don't trust ourselves to know that it's not true what they're saying, because we don't have any evidence that it's not true. And that is completely fucked up. The human is born, we are born with an immediate pre-programmed insanity to abdicate our trust, because as helpless little children We can only trust our parents, and in that, when our beliefs of what they tell us do not match reality, that is actually abdicating our self-trust, because we start believing our parents instead of trusting ourselves. So it's pretty imperative for every human, and especially all the parents out there, to not lie to their children. For that, of course, it is imperative for the parents not to lie to themselves, which is a little harder. But as long as we keep lying to ourselves and to each other, to our children, we are going nowhere as a species. We are actually devolving. We are not seeing the actual reality of this world. We are not seeing the physical. We're seeing only what we want to see in our minds, what feels comfortable, what we have been taught to believe and trust, instead of trusting ourselves and our own common sense, our own eyewitnessing, our own touching reality. So that's all for now. I will see what else comes up.